Hello, folks. This is a lovely afternoon in College Park, Maryland, and breeze is blowing, and the sun is warm. It's in the afternoon now, and but it's can't believe it was a day after the storm, because we had a crazy storm last night. We lightning and thunder and heavy rain, and by the time 10 o'clock, I think we lost power, and that didn't come back until 3 o'clock in the morning. So we were back in the dark like old days, and I did a story just before that, and you know, so but now it's such a lovely time. You turn around and you look at the sky, and look at that, folks. Look at the sky. Wow, it's beautiful. So here we are. I'm back with you in story time because I find that I'm not traveling right now, so I came up with a formula that I'm going to give you stories, and that's what we're going to do. Here we are. There's a plane gonna probably trying to land at the airport down there. Here we go. So I'll give it stories. So these are story times. Story times, folks. Shipping Explorer is embarking on these stories of life experience, whether in Jamaica or traveling or rest part of the world. So for those who are, welcome back to the station. I really love that some of you are really spending time with this station and being entertained and religiously coming back. And if you are stumbling on this for the first time, Ship the Explorer is saying spend some time and listen to the tape and or the video and see if you like it. If you like it, then just subscribe or share if you like, and just subscribe so we can build this station up. And the time will come when these important videos will mean something to somebody. So today's story is talking about the whole athletics days in Jamaica growing up, and poor days of athletics time, from elementary school to high school to tertiary education. And that's where we are, from the back bushes of St. Andrew up in the hills to the smooth red track at National Stadium. And so I'll give you this story today. We'll talk about those days. Yes, it's an entertainment. I'm not even complaining. I'm just going to tell you what it is. So here we are. I started out in as a 6-year-old runner. I didn't even know I was asked to run that day. At elementary school, my teacher must have put me in the race, and we had race day those days, man. 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and right up to maybe 10-year-old, 11-year-old also, because by the time you reach 12 you're doing scholarship. 11, 12, you're doing scholarship, common entrance examination, and some of you are moving on. And by the time you reach 12, 13, 14, if you didn't go to high school, then you're probably pushed out or out of elementary school, and our primary school is I think it's elementary school and then primary school. But at 6, I think I was about 6 years old, man, I must have been asked to race in one of the races, man. They had race day, and unfortunately I had a bad case of diarrhea that day, and the diarrhea was so ferocious I had messed up myself, and maybe that's why I'm called Shippy. But in any case, this is Shippy the Explorer. And anyways, that's another story. One day we could probably tell it. But some of you will recognize me, you know my story. And so I had a bad case of diarrhea. I had to be taken home and cleaned up and all sorts of things. And then by the time I reached back to school, you know, my teacher was saying, "Oh, where were you? I was looking for you all along to to be in this race." She didn't know that I had a bad case. I was sick in the guts, and so she was mad, but I was also mad too because I'd mad with myself for probably eating some junk that day. Anyway, that was elementary school, primary and elementary and primary school. Then I moved on to high school and found out by the second year, by that first year or by the second year, they found out that I was a natural runner, natural gifted runner, jumper, and high jumper, long, broad jumper, and runner. Because we grew up in the mountains, folks, and we used to run after goats and cows. Well, you remember the cow story. And I want to correct that because one day it wasn't a bull cow, it was a mullet cow. So if you see that story, remember it's a mullet female cow, or a cow is a cow and a bull is a bull. So it was a mullet cow, the one that doesn't have horns. You see that. So we grew up strong. We run after goats, we run after cows, we run after pigs, we run after chickens. Although the chickens we run after them and we want to catch one for killing them, we'll just take off into the trees or up in the air like a common bird, man. But it has to come back on the land. So we run after all those things in the country. And then we were used to it, the natural stuff, man. We eat the guava, we eat the mangoes, we drink the coconuts, we eat the bananas, we eat cabbage straight from the field and carrots straight from the field. And we had our dumplings and all sort of things, and the yam and bananas and all that, boiled bananas. And then once in a while we got some meat. So we were fit. So here I am at elements. I'm going to start at 10th grade because I think at 10th grade they realized that I could run. And I was running like crazy and winning the race left and right. And so here we are, 1 year when I was supposed to, and I think I told this story already, they were making the selection for the team to go to National Stadium, man. And here I am, ship of the Explorers. They put you on, say, on your mark. And I got down on my mark and they say, get set. And then I took off. But guess what? Those days were poor days and I didn't have what they call a jackstrap. And so by the time I reached the 50 yards down the track, man, my private parts were all over the displaying to the whole school. And all I could do was to just try to secure the elements. And then after securing the elements, this race was still going on. And then I said, okay, well, win one race and I'm going to win the other race. And you know, believe me or not, I sped up and won the race. And at the end of the race, I saw this big tree and I could not stop. And all I really expected to do was to run into this tree. And so I jumped through the branches and landed down the gully on my butt. So that was high school, man. But I think that was barefoot running though. We did not have the proper uniform. We did not have spiked shoes. We did not have shorts. We did not have jack straps. But we were running and we were fast. But now, take it a little further. I So I was able to represent the school in that case. And you know what happened? These are athletics days were poor days, man. And we are going to what they call Eastern Champion. An Eastern Champion is sometimes held at stadium, but sometimes it's at five or six different schools in the West Rural area of St. Andrew, Portland, and St. Mary. It's going Eastern Champion, the eastern part of Jamaica. And the day before we went, that was the day I think we, if I hope I'm not mistaken, because it was, I think, well, the day before I went, we were given maybe shorts and all sort of things, and then we were to run in our sneakers and all that. So we went to Eastern Champion, man, and we performed. But then this was even better. We had moved on to Eastern Champion, and my school was coming next to last, or last in those days, although we had good athletes. But guess what happened? We were poor, we were underfed, and somewhat not trained hard enough. Although we thought we were trained, man, we were good runners, but we needed some finer refinement in terms of nutrition and weights and proper clothes. And we did not know that. We were just going off our natural sense, natural skill, natural, just being a straight countryman. And but the school finally got to the point where we got a few of us in the boys section representing the boys, and a few girls representing the girls. And can you believe it? That's the morning, the day before, we were paraded in front of the whole assembly to say these are the representatives going to represent our high school. And our present that morning was the handing of a pair of Spikes running shoes. Can you believe it? The day before we go to stadium is the day when we got our Spike shoes. Didn't know practicing them. Didn't. We saw people when we went to stadium or other track and fields. We realized that these guys were more organized than us, because we're wondering, yes, those are Spike shoes, whatever, and they had theirs, and here are we, big boys and girls, and just getting those things for the first time in our life. So we tried them on that morning, and they somewhat fit our feet, because somebody had asked us our size secretly, and so we fit them on. And then you had to be practicing, because as an athlete, some of you are athletes, you remember the old days when you put on the Spike shoes, you can't walk straight anymore. You have to walk with your toes up in the air, because you can't really walk on the spikes. And so you have to learn how to walk with them, and also you have to learn how to run. So here we are, we went to stadium, man, and did our heats. You know, you have heat 1, 2, and 3, or something like that, and then you had class 3, which is the youngest class, class 2, which is the middle age group, and class 1 are the older kids. And that year, when I remember the story of me getting the loudest applaud was, I think I was in class 3. And I remember, for those of you who were at stadium and we saw that year, we heard about Donald Quarry, and at the end of the day, at the finals, we managed to stay back long enough to see Donald Quarry took off and won his race. And then after that, that was the exposure that we got. And then another year I personally saw Marlon Hottie. So I'm in between that group. Donald Quarry is a little older than me, and Hottie was younger than me. But I remember seeing them and experienced that. So here we are. So here I am. Here, man. Before we went to East Track and National Championship, we had to go to Eastern Champion. So go back to Eastern Championship. They placed me in the mile race, man. I was so good. They placed me in high jump. They placed me in long jump. They placed me in discus. They placed me in shot put. And so the mile race was one of the latest ones, man. And here I am. They took off. And the rest of the kids who were well fed and well trained, they were progressively getting farther and farther away from Shippy the Explorer, man. And when I looked, by the time we went around the track one time, they were maybe about 100 yards away from me. And by the time we went around for the second time around the track of stadium, they were probably 200 yards away from me. and so the progressive, the cumulative weakness, cumulative error. Yes, so by the time I went around the track for the second time, the leaders in the race were way ahead of me. And so by the third time, you had to go around the stadium 4 times for the mile in those days. And so by the time the third time, some of them the winner had won the race already. And here I am, just starting my 4th lap. And here, can you believe it? Shippy the Explorer, I did not stop running. I kept on, I settled down in my own path and my own feeling and my own trained experience, because I knew the type of energy that I could exert. And I settled down and I went foot for foot. And when I started the 4th lap, and I was the last person now, and believe it or not, I was going timely around that track. And if you know stadium, if you grew up in stadium, the shaded part, the cantilevered part is on the western side, and the bleachers are on the eastern side. So I went around the eastern side, and guess what happened? The applaud started, and I heard plow, 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 in time with my step pose. And I wonder what was going on. Were they applauding me to get off the track or not? And then by the time I reached the northern section of stadium to come up on the final 200 200 yards, or back those days it was yards, folks. Yes, old enough. By the time I reached the 200, last 200 yards, but since some of you don't know about yards, let's talk about meters. I heard the applause start to get louder and louder, and and then by the time I reached that final 100 section in front of the cantilevers, the whole stadium was applauding for me. It's a clap, 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 and I held my head steadily, and I kept my feet moving, and I breathed with determination, and I put the foot left and right until I reached the middle of the 50 feet to go. And when I reached the 50 feet, I was determined to finish the race that was long finished by the others. Long finished by others. Maybe about 5 minutes ago. No, I'm not even sure. But anyway, they were long gone. But here I am, 50 more feet or 50 more yards to go, and the whole stadium is applauding for me, and I timely went through that 50 meters with the whole stadium backing a loser. But was it a loser? I wasn't a loser at that time. It's after I finished the race and came off the track, so super exhausted and thirsty. Because when you're a runner, you're finished the race back those days. Your mouth is dry, you're sweating, but you feel like passing out. You know, you feel like passing out. I came to the side, and I don't know if I got a little water in those days, but I felt elated, somewhat elated, that I had finished the race. And it's after some time I realized what had taken place. In the midst of failure, in the midst of being the last person to finish the race, here I am, last person, maybe 3 minutes from the first person to finish. And here I am getting the loudest applaud. I realized that they weren't applauding me for losing for winning the race, but they were applauding me for not stopping. And that's the lesson that Shippy the Explorer is putting forward this day. Never you give up in something that you believe. Never you stop. If you were trained or you're exposed to an idea and you really believe in it and you think it's substantial and it's beneficial to you, it's not illegal, then you timely do your examination and timely explore your possibilities, and you finish your duty. Stay steady in your goal, and whether you are the first or the last, the most important thing is that you finish the race. I realize that has become my biggest, my strongest belief of coming away from track and field from the old days. That the day when I came last in a mile race, I did not stop and give up. And I got the loudest applause. in in that in on that day. And that has stuck with me for the rest of my life. I can still remember it. Those were days, I think that was 1974, something like that. 74, back in those days. And until now, well, he's even before that. It's before 74 because maybe 1969, maybe 69, 70, not 74, back in those days. But after that, in success, in future race, then we realize that in our failure, we know that we came away from stadium knowing that we were losing to a certain extent because of certain things, because of poor nutrition, because of poor training, because of poor weight training, and rest, and know how to protect the body from injury. And so that was success in the midst of failure, and that was what happened to me. And then I'm going to tell you another story. So here's another story. In the midst of stadium, man, we went back to stadium. Now we have gone. A number of us, we are so good. We were invited. We invited to the National Boys Championship, man. And here I am. The Shippy Explorer is the best high jumper in West Rural St. Andrew. I had smashed the record in Eastern Championship, and not cocky or anything, but here we are going to stadium now to perform. And the first day we did some preliminary work, and I did some other things, but my main event was the high jump, and that was coming the next day. And guess what? The team that was traveling after that first day of track and fields, we met in an accident, and we were somewhere along the Arthur Road or Crossroads or whatever it was, or Constant Spring Road, and we had to sleep in the I think it was a Arthur police station or Crossroad police station that night. I don't remember which one. And we slept on the benches. Some of us didn't sleep. The next morning we made our way back to stadium, tired and hungry. And so when my time came to show off and possibly get my first goal in my life, I made the first preliminary jump at 6 feet, at 5 feet, 8 or something like that. I don't remember what it was, and I went over it with ease. And I thought I remember when the second round came, I made the second round. And after that, my body gave out because here I was, tired and hungry. Tired and hungry, and cannot make my height. And here I am, I was a 6'4" jumper that year, man. One of the best high jumper in Jamaica. I don't think some of you remember me because high jumpers don't get the big limelight. And here I am, man, in the track, in that meet, it was Barif and myself. Well, Barif, if you're alive, you'll probably remember that you won that year, and Shippy the Explorer failed. But you wouldn't remember me because I failed so miserably. I didn't even make 6 feet in height. And so the successful jumps, I keep on trying and could not even elevate myself in the air because I was too tired and too traumatized to really do anything. And that is another failure in life. But what I've done is use that to understand what failure is all about. I used that failure to reach my height that year. And believe it or not, if I was in prime shape, and if I was rested that day, Barif and myself would have been competing for that goal. Believe it or not, Shippy the Explorer was that good because he won with 6'4", something like that, 6'4" and a quarter, and I that year was 6. I was flashing over 6'4", not even with Flasbury Flap, because after the next year Flasbury Flap came in. This year I was just jumping like a straight jackass or kangaroo or goat, straight over the pole from one end to the next, one leap. And those that were calling scissors, maybe scissors jump. But I was leaping so high and far, I often landed off the mat, some 10 feet away from the bar. And that's how good I was. So Barif and myself would have been flashing it out that day. But I think, if I remember right, Barif must have switched to Flasbury Flap that year. And so he had the advantage of me even then. So he probably would have won that year. But it shows me in the midst of failure, Shippy the Explorer is saying that if you fail, you take the failure and examine the parts. Examine what went wrong. Examine what you can do next time. And then you go back and train as mighty as possible for those things. And then you improve the next time. But here we are. We're at the poor school. And I remember sometimes when we finished running and lunchtime came, and these teachers must have thought about it, the ones who went with us to stadium. They must have said what the kids are going to eat. And here we are, we never thought about having lunch. And believe me, when other people like from KC and Calabar and all that, they're having maybe a hot lunch and liquid and all that, the guys from the mountain were having bun and cheese and soda. Bun and cheese and soda and our natural strength of dumpling and banana, going to stadium to compete. So we realized that nutrition was very important to, and it's years after I realized that, I realized that to do some weights and all that was important. So we started doing weights, and we added that to our poorness to the routine. But food, apart from a few wild chicken eggs that we used to get, and once in a while we get some meat and some soup and all that, we were at disadvantage in terms of nutrition. We didn't get any of that. But we finally learned. But by the time we learned, some of us were in class. By this time we were in class 2, and now we're in class 1. Still struggling because we were learning too late. So those were the days of track and field for my age group, for a poor track and field team from out of the countryside, up in the hills. And that's how we struggled. But we went and we competed, and we are better folks for going. And in the midst of our failure, I'm telling you, some of the guys who fail like that at stadium and adjusted themselves in life have gone on to be some of the greatest achievers in the history of the country. We have gone on to be good leaders, good fathers, good providers, good professionals, because we did not get the easy things up front. And so we did not have it easy. And so in the midst of hardness and toughness and all that, you tend to succeed in life. You tend to succeed in life. So I'm saying, don't give up. Learn from your mistakes and go for it. And put your all in whatever you're doing. And at the end of it, whether failure or not, you know that you had run the race. Whether you won or not, you know that you participated. And you can't sit back now and say, I wonder, I should have gone and I should have done this. Whatever you do and you have something to do and you think it's a good plan, try it and go for it. Because that's the encouragement Shippy the Explorer is saying, to encourage you. So you take my experience from stadium days, from high school days, no, from elementary days. Elementary days, it's messy. High school days is without jockstrap. And high school stadium days is running barefoot and later on with spiked, but still coming last. But in the end, we are first. So make your loss becomes your winning action in life. Thanks for watching and listening to these stories, folks. It's all a pleasure to do these stories, to tell you. And hopefully you're entertained and remember some of these, those days. And the exposure, the scene, some of the greats, Donald Quarry and Marlene Hottie and Parif and Shippy the Explorer is still here to tell you this story. Thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and do subscribe if you like these type of stories. But strive for good no matter what. See you. Walk good. This is bye for now. Until another story of life.